Just a short couple of years ago, these two pro gamers would face off against each other at the very least once a week. I just quickly looked it up, and it turns out these two, they have played about 300 maps in about 100 different series in tournaments, which is absolutely ridiculous. Interestingly enough though, in 2023 so far, this series right here, this best of 3, is the second time they faced off against each other. Spotting right here, in game number 1 in the top left-hand corner of Gresfin. Playing with the blue Terran SCVs from France, we have the highest ranked Terran from the European server, and he goes by the name of Clem. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones, he's from Italy. He's a previous world champion of StarCraft 2. He's ranked amongst the very best in the world. We're looking inside of the main base of Reynor. Reynor versus Clem. This is a classic rivalry, but not one that is, well, I guess currently ongoing all that much. Although, I think in their minds, they're probably still rivals, even though they don't really face off against each other nearly as frequently anymore. I guess it's because neither of them really signs up for the smaller online cups. I mean, when they were like 16, 17, 18 years old, I guess $100 here and there was worth a lot more to them than these days, since, you know, at least financially they've done very well for themselves. So I can imagine that both of them are like, yeah. Can't really be bothered staying all the way up through the night to, you know, play in these smaller online tournaments. We'll face off in the big matches instead. That being said, this particular series is from last week's ESL Open Cup 177 for the European region, something like that. Might be 178. I always get the numbers mixed up in my head. Doesn't really matter all too much. They did decide to sign up again for a smaller online cup, and it's exciting to see where they are currently at. So, Clem opening up with a double Reaper shenanigans. That is something that the Korean Terrans are very fond of, but it's not really something I've seen in Reynor, or sorry, Clem. I see Reynor right here at the top of the screen. I haven't really seen Clem execute this particular build all too often. What's scary for Zerg against this particular opener is that you never really know if there's a third barracks hiding in the main base. So there could be one right over here, and suddenly you're playing against a triple Rex start. It doesn't matter that much, but it's important to figure out roughly what you're playing against so you can decide when you should go back to droning. If you're going up against somebody who's going for a triple Rex opener, it's more or less an all-in, or at the very least something that needs to deal damage. And with this particular start, nice little bit of micro over there, by the way. With this particular start, I don't think Reynor really needs to be all too carried away when it comes to making Zerglings for the defense. That being said, he won't be, well, all too comfortable until Metabolic Boost finishes up. It's gonna be a little while, but Clem, of course, is gonna be able to macro on the back of this as well. Curious to see when he's gonna put down his third command center. Honestly, that seems to me like the real strength of this particular build, since Reapers are 50 minerals and 50 gas each, and you mine, of course, way more. Nicely done right there. I thought he was gonna jump with all 3 of the Reapers at once, but he decided to leave the low HP one on the low ground, just needing high ground vision, of course. Great grenade. Oh my god, Brenda made a little flip over Karen there. It's not something we see all too often, working in the circus here. Very nicely done. Yeah, so there's the third command center fired up as well. I feel like that's honestly the real strength of this opener. So you can relatively safely transition towards a massive economy while putting a lot of pressure on the Zerg, right? So at this point, I mean, we're gonna see a third hatchery, but the third command center is significantly faster than the third of the Zerg. Anyways, please don't lose the Reapers for free, though. That would kind of suck. Okay. Well, yeah, we're gonna try our best. I actually think these Reapers should have gone back home. Okay. Reynor did manage to catch one. He's probably gonna get the second one as well. Yep, but the third at the very least. The commanding officer. Maybe that's the one that threw the grenade, you know? Commanding officer of the party. Actually, 4 overlords there fired up as well. So that is not great here for Reynor. I think that's actually another strength of this particular build. Like, even in theory, if you know exactly how to defend, this is a stressful early game for the Zerg, right? I mean, it's very different than what we conventionally see coming out of a Zerg player, and making 4 overlords at once is a blunder. That's not actually what we should be seeing. Anyhow, what exactly is going to be the follow-up? We're going to be producing Stimpack over here, not on the exposed add-on, excuse me, on the exposed add-on right there. Apparently I'm going through puberty, guys. My voice every once in a while decides to, maybe my voice will drop an octave. That would be kind of sick. Hello, everyone. I actually have a button.
Hello. No, that's the wrong button.
This is the button I was thinking of.
I got this new audio interface some time ago. I am like a kid in a candy shop. I will press the buttons every once in a while when I feel like it, dang it! Okay, I'm done. Armory here on the back of this. So Clem actually going for what seems to be a Stimpak Medevac Hellbat based push. And honestly, at this point Reynor is not ready for that whatsoever. So he's going into a quick Baneling speed, quote unquote quick. He's gonna have it in time for a mid-game attack, but he really is gonna need something that isn't just Zerglings and Queens here for this incoming push. And this is not an attack we very frequently see, so Terran is already moving across. Reynor has no idea that this is happening. He needs to morph in Banelings right now. Instead, he makes a 4th base. Now, Reynor is known for his amazing crisis management. Double Evo starts up too. That's not what he needs at all. Clem coming in with a very unorthodox follow-up after the double barracks start. Okay, Banelings do get fired up here eventually, but this is gonna deal a lot of damage, man. Queens are falling left, right, and center. Look at the stutter step micro right there on Hellbats. Not ideal. Okay, can we at the very least clean up the majority of this? Some of it will be cleaned up, but... Okay, we're gonna even drop down the Marines once again in between the mineral fields here. Super annoying. Loads of lost mining time. And while I don't believe that this will straight up win the game right here for Clem, it is obviously putting Reynor in a very dire position here. 3rd command center in the meantime has landed. We're gonna start getting some mules going here as well. Reynor decides to go for the Baneling speed upgrade as well as the 1 carapace upgrade, which is really sweet. The problem is, this was only wave number 2, I guess, of a 17-wave attack plan right here for Clem. Clem probably hoping he only needs wave number 3 right here, the one that's currently coming across the map. But I don't think Clem is really gonna let go of this aggression. Now, of course, this is Reynor's signature move. Something he was very good at in the early days of, well, when he started playing. I was gonna say the early days of StarCraft 2. At the same time, looks like at least some of the army here was pushed back. 1 Hellbat though. Stands and fights, and now the Queens are on the run as well. Baneling speed nowhere to be seen yet. Reynor realizes that this game, it could go on for another 5 minutes, but this game is going nowhere. And when you fall behind against someone of Clem's caliber, he's really not gonna let go of the advantage. Domination there from Clem in game number 1. Game 2, we find ourselves on the map Dragon Scales, and Reynor decides to go for a faster gas and a faster spawning pool. So this is before he ever made an expansion. I'm assuming we will see that expansion coming up here very soon, but this is definitely gonna allow him a little bit more stability in the early game. The problem right here though, well, Mr. Clem, he's decided to go for just a standard opener here. No double barracks start this time around. I believe this is going to be a barracks inside of the main base and then a command center on the low ground. Link speed is by no means a useless upgrade against this particular opener, but of course, you would have rather gotten away with a little bit more economy here if you are a Reynor. Unless he's got some sort of roach warren push planned on the back of this, but honestly, I doubt it. Nah, it's just going to be a queen over here. Settlings as well. Maybe they can harass the SCV after the Reaper comes across the map. But sadly right here for Reynor, there's an SCV scout, and this SCV scout will confirm the timing of the hatchery. And when Clem sees that this hatchery only just now started, yep, that's all he really needs to know. He can now keep that Reaper at home. I mean, he can maybe hunt down the Lynx too, but at the very least he's fired up a Marine here as well, and that's gonna keep that SCV that's building the command center safe for now. Excellent start here, once again, for the Frenchman. Yeah, so in case you're unfamiliar, both of these players, they came up right around the same time period. Reynor's not even going to try, by the way. He's just going to leave this at home. He realizes it's not going to happen. So they came up right around the same time period. And generally speaking, when there's like a rivalry between two relatively new players, I mean, obviously at that point they'd been playing the game for years, but, you know, for the first time at like a higher level, generally, at some point, there's one player who turns out to be significantly better than the other. But with Reynor and Clem, that never really happened. You know, Clem considered to be the #1 Terran from Europe. Reynor, I mean, he won the World Championships. They've both been ridiculously good. And it's kind of cool that they came up right around the same time when they were like, I think like 14, 15, maybe 16 years old is when they really started facing off against each other frequently. There were some weaknesses. Clem would sometimes be a little bit overly aggressive. Reynor's late game, for example, was really nothing to write home about, but they've continuously improved, and, well, this is where we're at right now. Reynor actually making a lot of links. This is giving me very strong dark vibes over here. Same can be said for the 4 overlords we saw in the previous game. Very strong dark vibes with that one too. Anyways, a group of links going across the map. The front door is wide open. As long as there's a unit on the supply depot, you can't actually lift it. So that Reaper did not scout exactly what was going on. 4 SCVs have gone down. A 5th SCV will surely die as well. Oh, this guy's name is Shirley. He's dead now. It's a little sad. Anyways, 5 SCVs have gone down here in total. And I think that does justify all of these Zerglings that Reynor decided to go for. Okay. Nice little bit of micro here, though, coming out of Clem. Now, of course, he did this while delaying his natural. He did this while delaying his 3rd base as well. So this is a bit of an unorthodox start. And again, it's important that when you do find yourself in a situation like this, that you don't panic and accidentally make, you know, for example, too many overlords. That's really only a problem we ever see from Zerg. Terrans and Protoss are not likely to, like, you don't see a Protoss player making 6 pilots, you know what I mean? Like, it's never gonna happen at the 4-minute mark. But it's not entirely uncommon from Zergs, even at this level. We do sometimes accidentally see them, I guess, rapid firing a whole lot of overlords out, which is not really what you're looking for. I guess Terran and Protoss, though, are more likely to hit supply blocks. Zerg still hits supply blocks as well, of course. Like, for example, right now. Both players actually making some mistakes here. Yep. Okay. Neither of them probably too happy with how this game is going. But because they're both making mistakes, I guess we can call this an advantage right here for Reynor. There's the lair coming up. Spore Crawlers about to finish up too. We've already got 1 Banshee out in the middle of the map. Not a very good hiding place, I'll be honest with you. I'm assuming the Banshee has not been spotted yet, but Reynor did, of course, see inside of the main base what was going on. And this is really the only puzzle he needed to solve. It's not a very complex puzzle. The circular thing goes into the circular hole, apparently. That could be interpreted in the wrong way. The triangular piece would go into that's a better way to say that. But I know that some of you would never, or none of you would ever. No. We're good. Okay. We gotta chase down these Hellions. The Hellions have really achieved very little. Banshee over here, maybe they can get some damage done. Okay, good bit of damage, but losing 1 Banshee already. I've got a feeling that this 2nd Banshee is not gonna be able to achieve that much either. Although it is the one with all the kills. Maybe a little bit more of an experienced pilot there. But I've got a feeling that was mostly just luck. 3rd command center is gonna finish up, but of course with a build like this, you don't really have as fast of a 3rd CC. Okay. No, not liking this, not feeling this at all here for Clem. Now suddenly, yeah, we have Baneling speed coming up. We've got double Evo, same situation as in the previous game. But look at where Terran is at. Terran's not out on the map anymore. Terran's just sort of sitting behind their wall. 3rd command center is not landed yet. We have 1-1 fired up, but it's going to be ages until that one is done. This is not nearly as good a position right here for Clem as what we saw in the previous game. And I feel like Clem is very much so the kind of guy who favors tempo-based play. So he's very good when he, like, obtains the victory, and then it snowballs, right? Like, he gets a little advantage here, a little advantage there, contains the creep, maybe a little drop, getting a couple kills in, and it has that tempo advantage, that, yeah, that smooth continuation of the aggression, and that is not existent in this particular game. The creep can be spread as fast as Reynor can spread it. The macro here for Zerg is off the charts. He's gonna get up to 80 workers here very soon. It's a solid amount of economy, and honestly, he could just go for an attack. He's got Baneling speed finishing up. Could, of course, wait until 1-1, but I actually wouldn't mind seeing him go for a little bit of aggression. There's only really 1 siege tank here on the high ground protecting this. We have another siege tank rolling down the natural ramp right now, but this can certainly pack a punch. Alternatively, we could be transitioning right now as Zerg towards, like, Lurkers, or Mutas, or Nidus Worms, or... well, maybe not Swarm Host. That's probably the only thing that is a bad idea. Instead, Reynor's gonna take a very conservative approach. He's thinking about rolling the Banes over here. There's so many Lings out available, though. I think we're gonna go for an attack here. Probably when 1-1 finishes. Now, the attack would be about as good right now as it would be when 1-1 is done, because at that point, 1-1 is gonna be finished as well for the Terran. But yeah, we're sitting basically at 78 workers, just making non-stop army. The only thing we can really criticize Reynor for at this point is that he's got way too much money in the bank. Not entirely sure why he's got so much money in the bank. Probably missed a queen inject or something like it. He's got a macro hatchery here in the main base. It does seem to be hotkeyed. Good control right there, though, coming out of Clem. That was only a small chunk, though, of Reynor's force, which is a bit funky. Kind of feel like he just donated about 40-odd Zerglings. Yeah, right when Terran had finished 1-1, I believe, and Zerg is now finishing 1-1. That was not quite ideal. A lot of lings over here. Okay, they're gonna be able to just run straight into the natural. That's gonna be the end of that siege tank for sure. And that may very well open up the front door here as well for Zerg to go for an attack over at the third base. Only a single siege tank remains. Couple of Banes here coming in from the right. Oh no. Okay, they do turn around. I was gonna say, those SCVs, they could have been absolute toast. 10 workers end up going down, 12 workers end up going down, and I don't think that's gonna be the end of it. By no means the cleanest bit of aggression here, okay? I'm actually a little surprised Reynor still has this much money in the bank. Like, Ling Bane is very cheap when it comes to the amount of resources. Oh, no cancel on that base either. 29 SCVs have gone down, and it is enough, but even though it's a win, I don't think Reynor is going to be particularly happy with that win. I mean, he could have had, like, an additional 20 Hydras with that attack. Okay, that takes us to the map Babylon. Game number 3 of this best-of-3 series. Both players have had a little bit of time to warm up. I believe this was actually the semifinals of the ESL Open Cup, so I guess they've been playing for quite a few hours already. Maybe calling it a warm-up. Not ideal, but I'm just hoping that this game right here on Babylon is going to be a little bit smoother. Okay. Standard 13 Overlord right over here for Reynor. Standard supply depot here on the high ground as well. This SCV is going to be building the barracks here very shortly. Once upon a time, the only requirement for making a barracks was having an SCV. This was in the early days of StarCraft 2. So these days, you have to have a supply depot before you can make a barracks. Now that doesn't really sound like a very significant change, because in what game would you be making a barracks before you have a supply depot? Well, in the cheesy days of StarCraft 2, players would quite literally make multiple barracks before they would ever produce a supply depot, because they didn't really need a supply depot until the first Marine could be made. Just don't make any SCVs at the start of the game. Just spend all your money on making barracks instead. Honestly, one of the most impactful balance changes Blizzard has ever made is having a supply depot requirement to make a barracks. It's very basic, but for some reason that wasn't at the start of the beta. At the very, I don't actually. I should look it up. Barracks, Liquipedia, Wings of Liberty. I want to see when they did this patch, because I very fondly remember a bunch of barracks coming up on my side of the map, and I wasn't a fan of it. Let's see. Patch 2. Build time of the barracks decreased from 65 to 60 seconds. Patch 16. Barracks build time increased from 60 to 65 seconds. Patch 17. Barracks build time decreased from 65 to 60 seconds. Okay, patch 1.1.2. Barracks requirement changed from command center to supply depot. Okay, so you didn't need a command center at the very least to make a supply depot, or sorry, to make a barracks rather than a supply. Okay, fair enough. Pretty impactful change. So this was patch 1.1.2. I don't remember exactly when that was released, but if I were to make a guess, probably 2010, maybe 2011. You can imagine what players could pull off in 2023 if they could just make a bunch of barracks right at the very start of the game. That'd be nuts. Anyways, nice little bit of Zergling micro over here coming out of Reynor, but not good enough. Because the Reaper here did get a kill, and well, at the very least, it also did scout out the timing right there of the third hatch. It's gonna be a 1-1-1 opener right here from Clem, it seems, but with a third command center before the last one. Starport will be coming up. I've seen this question, by the way, many times. Why in the world do we sometimes randomly see one of those mules being pulled off minerals? It turns out mules can do a limited amount of trips. So you spawn a mule from the orbital command, right? It starts mining minerals, it's gonna do a bunch of trips. It turns out, oftentimes, depending on the mineral patch, I believe, and the map, it would die with minerals in its claws halfway to the return trip. So basically what it comes down to is that you would lose those minerals because they would disappear. If a mule expires while it has minerals in its, what do you call it? Its hands? Its little grabbers? If it were to die right now, those minerals, don't ask the IRS, okay? Don't ask the Dutch tax services either. Those minerals, they would just disappear. It's some sort of mineral laundering going on in the Terran Dominion. So what Terran players do when they can micro their mules is pull them off. Okay, Banshee coming up once again. We have a whole lot of queens on the production tab, and I think we're just gonna play a very similar game once again. So this is the most standard of standard openers here that we've had so far. So this should be the cleanest game that both of these guys can play. We shouldn't really be seeing any supply blocks. We shouldn't be seeing multiple overlords other than maybe like 2 at a time. I can accept 2 at a time. Maybe in like a couple minutes from now, 3 at a time is fine too. But we shouldn't really expect any mistakes in a game like this. I'd like to see both of them play a bit of a macro-focused game. There's the lair coming up. We should be seeing a baneling nest here very shortly. This is the safest way of opening up as a Zerg player. Okay, we have some safety spore crawlers too. He doesn't really know what he's playing against, but Cloak finishes at it, well, a little bit past the 5-minute mark. Clem is gonna find a bunch of queens and spore crawlers. Hellions here on the right side of the map, trying to get an angle, but so far, not really the case. We're even gonna go for a 4th spore crawler over there too, okay. I kinda like that actually, on the maps that have a lot of space from the natural to the 3rd, I kinda like having that 1 spore crawler. You have like little bubbles of detection and of anti-air. I think it can be very helpful. You can always move it over to the 4th base here a little bit later when that one is taken. Actually, apparently we've already taken it, but it's on the bottom of the map here instead. 1-1 coming up right here for Clem. Stimpack coming up for him as well. Four overlords. Foverlords. Five overlords? No. We don't want to see 5 overlords. Okay, that's a little bit too much. Honestly though, at this point, he will need more drones, but if you don't immediately plan on making a bunch of drones, I think it's fine to make a few extra overlords. It's especially a problem when you're still starved for minerals in the earlier stage of the game, when you just go a little too ham. Okay, there's the baneling speed coming up. Double Evo chambers inside of the main base. Terran is going to be ahead when it comes to those upgrades, but that is by design. Okay, here come the Hellions. Nice, little bit of poking right here from Clem. He needs to be careful though, don't get caught. Good grenade there once again. Clem is actually super good at the Reaper grenades. It is a skill we don't really talk about that often, but it's genuinely a big deal. Reynor, by the way, not really bothering with making any army. So he's got 28 Zerglings, fair enough, but other than that, it's just drone. He needs to get units done by the time that Terran decides to go for a big attack. And I feel like the first moment for a big attack is coming up very soon. Yeah. 4th Command Center fires up, 2nd Factory now also coming up here. Nothing all too weird. 5th hatchery on the right side of the map. That's mostly a macro hatch here for the time being. We have a ring of spore crawlers. So Reynor is setting himself up for a complete macro game. This ring of spore crawlers is just in case the opponent decides to go for a lot of drops. So he's actually got so many spores. My god, that surprises me. 8 spores at this point in the game. Like 2 to 5 spores per base sounds like a bit much to me, but not bad. If you have the economy on the back of it, the main question now becomes whether or not he can actually hold this attack. Because Reynor has invented a lot of resources, or is he invented? He's invested a lot of resources into things that don't really serve him much against just straight up marine pushes. Bit of a similar attack in this game right here, as we saw in game number 1. I mean, it looks similar, but it's entirely different. This was just a bunch of the leftover Hellions morphing into Hellbats. He's got an armory to start up 2-2, so he may as well. Okay. Good defense here, though. This was by no means an all-in, though, from our Terran. Clem's sitting at 69 workers. It's pretty nice. He's got 2-2 started up. 3 additional barracks coming up. 4th Command Center at this point is done. We should be seeing that one. Okay, flying on over. And apparently he's favoring the 4th base on the left side of the map. Medevacs unloading up north as well to try and just simply get as much of that creep taken care of as possible. Well, he even knocks down the rocks right here for the Zerg. I actually kind of like it. Yeah. That's going to make it more difficult for Zerg to set up surrounds. Couple of scans over here. Can we pop that tumor as well? We can pick up. Get on out of there. Lovely work. Okay, the 1-2 punch continues over here at the bottom. More creep tumors taken care of. Clem's so good when it comes to controlling the pacing of these fights. So by the way, these guys, they're considered to be the fastest pro gamers in all of StarCraft 2. If you ever get to see them playing live, in person, it's actually impressive. Like, they're very quick. So they will actually speed up from here. You can do the math as to how many actions per second that is. I'm not gonna do the math for you, but they're quick, okay? So all you really need to know. And the Zerg versus Terran matchup in particular is a game all about mechanics. It's all about who can be faster and out-control and outpace the opponent. Oh, nicely done right there by Reynor. Blows up a couple of those Widow Mines. A couple, meaning 3. Lings and Banes rolling through this. There's still a few undetonated mines. Ah, that one does actually explode there in the end. So that means that Reynor can just go and clean all of this up. There's a ring of Spore Crawlers already set up. There's so many Spore Crawlers. I mean, at this stage in the game, the Spore Crawlers are very helpful. Again, it is an investment though. Reynor has basically made like 120 drones or something in this game, which is a lot. Considering Terran's economy hasn't really been messed with all too much, it's difficult to hold on. And I wonder if maybe making those Spore Crawlers is a little bit of an exaggeration. Because I feel like having 20 additional links here would probably be helpful. Then again, if the game does go the distance, those Spore Crawlers should gain value over time. Whereas the Zerglings, they would only be particularly good in the moment. One thing we saw in that series that Clem played against Elaser was him actually struggling a little bit against the big Hydraling Bane attacks. So he would transition towards Ghosts nice and quickly, but in some of the games, a little bit too quickly for my liking. Yeah, it's very important here that he doesn't get carried away. Now, this is a different playstyle though here from Reynor, so he's going into a Lurker Den here instead. +2/+2 started up as well for the Zerg. And he's going to be able to go into the Adrenal Glands upgrade. Okay. Clem is relentless though in these choke points. This map is considered to be good for Zerg. But so far, Clem is certainly playing to the strengths of the map. Fighting at these choke points, when you have splash damage in your army, just magnificent. 4 Vipers coming up right now for the Zerg. Le Explosion de Command Center, as Clem would call this. I think, maybe, could be. He's got a lot of additional command centers coming up right now. Firing up the wrong upgrade first. This is what we call pulling a Björn. You always want to be favoring the attack upgrade here instead, but we'll give the man a break. He's microing his butt off. Look at the average actions per minute, by the way, rising. Look at how fast these guys are playing. This is coming down to over 10 buttons a second now. Anyways, good little bit of pickup micro there as well, bringing the low HP units to the back. He wants to close the trap over here on that base. And you know what? If he can kill this expansion while at the same time sniping the base here on the right side, that would absolutely be ludicrous. Nicely done right there by Clem. I mean, this expansion's still alive, but it now has the refugee drones moving on over there. 34 workers on just 8 minerals. Definitely way too much. Reynor is being out-controlled here. He needs his lurkers, and he needed them a minute ago. Okay, now Vipers are available. At the very least, this is going to force some of those medevacs to, yeah, split up, and it's going to make the control much harder. A bunch of medevacs will also die. And that is a sacrifice Clem is willing to make. Widow Mines, by the way, were left behind. 9 kills, 5 kills, 13 kills. More parasitic bombs over here to try and just get rid of as many of these medevacs as possible, because that is what is ultimately allowing Clem all this staying power. The Widow Mines are looking to fire once again, though. Low HP Marauders and Marines are going to drop down out of the high heavens. Finally, it seems that Reynor is going to be able to push all of this back, but by no means without a whole lot of losses. This is the first time, though, where the Zerg hits a significant power spike. But would you look at that? Liberator already up in the air. Ghosts already available as well. My god, he's just splitting over here too. Scanner reveals where the lurkers are. Those lurkers are gonna get shut down. The only thing not going well here for Clem is that he accidentally made the wrong upgrade. He should have really fired up the other one first. But hey, even gods make mistakes, apparently. You guys don't have a shrine for Clem in your living rooms? Okay, just me? Alright, my bad. Anyways, that's a planetary fortress here on the left, so Lings alone are not gonna cut it. Lurker's now forced to cancel. Reynor up with his back against the wall. Remember those Widow Mines from earlier? Reynor not paying attention to this location on the map at all. Loses 10 drones. Those Widow Mines have fired like 7 times each. Maybe they're different Widow Mines. I don't think so, though. Clem gonna continuously pressure right here on the left side of the map. Get rid of those creep tumors. Make it difficult for the Zerg to get back into position. And normally when lurkers are out, this is when the Zerg feels comfortable, you know? This is like when they can start breathing again. But Reynor is, yeah, under so much pressure. Clem is being relentless here. Clem, by the way, just making command center after command center after command center. So even right now, if a command center gets blown up or you lose like 20 SCVs, maybe 30 SCVs in one go, it doesn't even really matter that much. We have the armor upgrade coming up for the mech units. Now we go into the +3. He probably assumed he fired up both of those upgrades at the same time. Just went to double check, realized, dang it. Started up the wrong one. Not a huge deal, though. Definitely not enough for Reynor to get back into the swing of things. Reynor trying to sneak out an expansion. This is a base that isn't covered by creep. He has got no high ground vision at all. So this is an expansion that should only work given that Clem does not pay attention. So there is a chance Clem is not going to check. I mean, it does feel really out there. Reynor right now going for, again, his signature move of full-on counterattack. We're sending everything across the map right now. If you can get lurkers over on this ramp, it's incredibly hard for the Terran to break it. Yeah, how in the world do you break this position? Well, step 1, counterattack. He's immediately pushing the buttons to go straight across the map. That third base from earlier, absolutely destroyed. This expansion down south will also end up going down. Banelings are rolling back home. Lurkers have repositioned themselves into the natural. The idea being, I guess, that they don't get sniped by the ghost from a distance. The Banelings, where did the Banelings go? Okay, they're over here on the ramp. Is there enough for the Zerg to really push this back? Is there enough for Terran, though, to clean up their own natural expansion? Ghosts alone are not going to be able to cut it, but Ghosts with Widow Mines, pretty darn good. 44 drones have gone down. Clem's army is looking absolutely menacing, making all the right decisions in this game. He needs to clean up those lurkers, and that's my main concern, but I think he may very well have the army to do it. He's decided to bring the units from the other side of the map back home. There's still 2 medevacs mispositioned. Planetary fortress over here as well. I don't think Reynor has done enough damage to justify this. So the ghost snipe, it gets cancelled when you actually get attacked, right? When you deal damage to the ghost. So Reynor right over here is checking out what's going on. Clem over here is going to scan, and he is going to start, yep, dealing some damage here. Vipers end up getting sniped out of the sky. That's the Liberator joining in the fray too, sniping whatever it can. He doesn't need to rush it. He might need to reproduce his production, and that's exactly what he's done. Reynor's bases on his side of the map are gone. His army is being destroyed. And that means that Clem obtains the victory 2-1. And honestly, he seemed in control for basically this entire series.